You may have been involved, or a loved one or a friend, in an accident where you've been injured, and you've got a host of questions that you'd like to ask. You have a need for information. I find often when I have an individual come into my office having been involved in an accident that they frankly don't even know what questions to ask. And I'll say something to them like this: let me ask the questions for you that you should be asking, and I'll give you answers to them. And if there's any additional question that you still have that remains that I've not dealt with, then we'll do that at the end of the interview. And frequently, if I've done my job properly, there'll be very few questions that will still remain. People say, I don't know what to ask. I've never been involved in an accident before, and I've never hired a lawyer, or if I hired a lawyer, perhaps it was to do a real estate deal or a will, and I really don't know what you guys do, and I don't know why I need a lawyer if I've had an accident. And so here's how that dialogue will often proceed. The first thing is, when should you call a lawyer if you've had an accident? And the answer is yesterday, before you've had the fall. No, seriously, you need to call really quickly, because there may be a limitation date which will expire, after which you can't present a lawsuit. Typically, that's a 2-year period for a lot of accidents in Ontario. It can be a shorter period of time. It can involve a number of days when you have an obligation to notify a municipality if you've fallen. So the limitation dates can be quite short. You want to call right away, and we can discuss if there's any limitation date you're going to be bumping up against quickly. And there's things that you need to do quickly. If you wait a period of months or a year or more, there may be a loss of opportunity to have done some things and made some choices that would have made sense in those early days. It might have been as simple as getting appropriate medical treatment. It may have been obtaining witness statements of people while they're still available and around to consult with. So why do you need a lawyer? Well, you might think, I've been called by the insurance company. They seem like nice people. They took a statement from me, and I think they're willing to settle my case. Well, the point is, you don't know what your case is worth. You probably won't know when it's appropriate to settle your case. What are some of the things that need to be done, that need to occur, before you can properly assess and quantify the value of a claim? Listen, if I had a problem with my car and I had a noise in the engine, and I was going to ask a mechanic what it might cost to fix that engine, don't you think they'd probably say, bring it in, let me do a diagnostic, and let me see what the problem is, and then I'll tell you what I think the bill might be. You need a certain amount of information to be able to make an intelligent guess as to what a case might be worth or what steps should be taken. It's a complex process. The point is, you're not dealing with a level playing field. The insurance company does this for a living. Their job, frankly, is to collect in as much in the way of premiums as they can, and to pay out as little as they can out by way of claims on the other end. Some insurance companies are better than others, but it's the principle of the thing. They're not necessarily aligning their interests with yours. So you need an advocate who specializes in this kind of work, who can level the playing field and can give you advice which will maximize the value of your claim. So who do you call? There's a lot of lawyers out there. I don't know anyone to call. Who should that be? Well, this is an important decision that you've got to make. I'll give you an easy answer and then a harder answer. The easy answer is you need to call someone who specializes in personal injury law, someone whose area of practice focuses on people who've had accidents and have been injured. There's two kinds of personal injury lawyers, and I don't mean good ones and bad ones. I mean the ones that represent plaintiffs who are the accident victims, and those who primarily represent insurance companies. And at Sharp, Barish, and Ganesh, I have practiced in areas involving personal injury with my focus for over 35 years. And aside from the very early days, when I opened my law firm in Ottawa, I've represented plaintiffs These are people who've been injured who are the accident victims. So typically you're going to want to look for a personal injury lawyer who has a focus on representing injured accident victims, or as we refer to, plaintiffs. Where do you hire a lawyer? Where should they be? Is it important that they're in your neighborhood? Is it important that they're in the city where you live? Not necessarily. In fact, I can say that in this day of technology where it's so easy to be able to communicate by way of Skype and emails and telephone and you name it, it's easy to stay in touch. You really don't need to have a lawyer down the street. It could be handy, but that's not the determining factor. The determining factor is choosing someone you're going to be comfortable with. We represent clients from really literally all over North America, and sometimes even across the seas into other parts of the world. I practice in a city where 14 or more million people come to Niagara Falls each year to enjoy the beauty that is Niagara Falls and our area. And people get hurt when they come and visit, and they go home to where they live, and that's literally all around the world. I often co-counsel with other lawyers as well who will hire me to provide expertise to them with respect to personal injury matters, and those lawyers have practices all across Canada and the United States. So where the lawyer is isn't as important as who the lawyer is that you've chosen. Well, how do you determine who that lawyer might be? Well, for one thing, I would suggest that you go to the website of the lawyer that you're thinking of and see what you can determine by way of that law practice. What do other clients say that have been represented by that lawyer? Who can you speak to get some impartial advice as to the competence of that lawyer? I know certainly if you go to our website, you not only will pick up a host of information that will help you by way of education if you've been involved in an accident, but it will tell you a little bit about myself and my team and why we think we might be a good choice to help you with your legal concern if it involves a matter involving bodily injury. So how do you hire a lawyer? Can you afford it? Lawyers are expensive, and I'm not sure that I've got the money necessary, Mr. Ganesh, to hire you and your team. Well, the good news is that if you've got a good claim, and we can certainly assess your claim fairly quickly and tell you whether you have a good claim or not and whether it's viable, we will act for you on what's called a contingency basis. There will be an agreement signed called a retainer agreement. There's certain things that our Law Society of Upper Canada, our governing body, specifies be in that agreement. And it will explain to you that we will charge a percentage of the settlement that we achieve for you, or the trial verdict. Understand this too, most cases don't go to trial. Probably 19 out of 20 cases will settle out of court. It's very unusual for a case to go to trial, but of course they do go from time to time to trial, and I've been involved in cases that have done just that. But most cases are settled out of court. So we'll take a percentage of that settlement that we achieve. So if you win, we win, and if you lose, we lose. So we have to be fairly adept at being able to assess the risk of entering into a relationship of contingency with you, or frankly, we're going to go out of business. The good news, though, is that you don't have to come up with money up front to pay fees in advance, as you often have to do in other kinds of matters involving, say, criminal law or family law or a commercial matter. The arrangement is quite easy financially if you've got a good case, because with a contingency relationship, we basically get paid when you get paid. And if your injuries take months or years to recover from, then we'll wait as long as we have to until our job is done. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have an opportunity to go to our law firm website, check us out, see what people have to say about us, and one day I hope we will meet, and I look forward to that day. Thank you.